Sally and I chose Function because it's the best in the world for testing. It's an all-in-one health platform with over 100 advanced lab tests covering your entire body, 5 times more than the average physical. Comprehensive and focused on critical biomarkers, it offers testing twice a year. Available across the U.S. and super easy to use. It's recommended by Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Casey Means, and hundreds of health experts. Kicking off the summer, Function is sharing their Long Live campaign. Long Live is a celebration of the everyday moments that make life worth staying healthy for. For me, this means long live crewing Sally at ultras and other crazy adventures. This means long live watching our kids cross finish lines and score goals. In the spirit of long live and taking control of your health, get a $100 credit towards your annual membership at www.functionhealth.com/Sally McRae. This $100 credit is only for the first 1,000 listeners. So sign up at functionhealth.com/Sally McRae. BondCharge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to optimize your life in every way. Founded on science and inspired by nature, all BondCharge products adopt ancestral ways of living in our modern-day world. Their extensive range of premium wellness products help you sleep better, perform better, have more energy, recover faster, reduce inflammation. The list is endless. Our favorite product from BondCharge is their infrared sauna blanket. If you're looking to ease stress and unwind, the sauna blanket can do just that. The infrared heat and your elevated heart rate, all while relaxing, releases endorphins, which can leave you feeling euphoric after your session. It takes less than a minute to set up, heats up quickly, and you'll feel revitalized and less stress after sessions. And they offer free shipping on every sauna blanket, no hidden costs. Go to bondcharge.com and use coupon code SALLY to save 15%. That's BONCHARGE.com and use coupon code SALLY to save 15%.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Choose Strong podcast. I am your host, Sally McRae, and today I have Jeff Cunningham, also known as Coach Jeff Cunningham, coach of the Bat City Runners in Austin, Texas, and also, unbeknownst to most, coach to athletes worldwide in high school and college and those that are trying to navigate their way into the elite and professional world of running. Coach Jeff is also just a good friend of mine. Thank you, Jeff, for being here.
I'm beyond excited to be here. This has like literally been a bucket list item. You know, like you go to the Parthenon, you go to the Grand Canyon, and you go on Sally McRae's podcast.
Stop. Well, I'm envisioning, Jeff, this is the first of many. What our listeners need to know is that a few times a month, Jeff and I have the great blessed opportunity of getting on the phone and we just have it out for a good 60, 90 minutes. We talk about everything. And I have a feeling that's what this podcast is going to be today. We're going to talk about some really good subjects. But I do envision having you come back because you are one of my favorite coaches on the planet. You are a wealth of knowledge. But I think the best thing about you is that you deeply care about your athletes and what you do. You really love what you do. You're a passionate person. I love being connected with people who are passionate about what they're doing. I don't care if it's basket weaving or you're a chef or a coach. People who know their purpose and why they're here and they do it with all their heart, they do it well. And you work very hard at what you do. So thank you so much for gracing all of us, our viewers and listeners, with your presence today.
Well, most people don't claim that I've graced them with my presence, so that puts you in a category of like 3.
This
like
is not true.
My mom, Sally, and like somebody else. But honestly, thank you for the compliment. And that's probably the best compliment that anybody could pay me about my relationship with the sport, the way I view mentorship, the way I view coaching. Listen, I mean, it would be a huge compliment to say this guy knows more about, the aerobic system in a human, being than any other coach on the planet. Listen, that is a compliment. I appreciate that. But to me, the highest praise is somebody who says, let it be known that you care and everybody can tell that you care.
Yeah.
That's the height of praise.
You know what? At the end of the day, we all want to know that someone cares about us, and we want to know that someone believes in us. And I think the sign of a great coach is not so much what they know about constructing a training program, but whether or not they're going to take the time to know the athlete that's in front of them. And to really get to know an athlete, it isn't, hey, just what's your time and your mile time in high school, or what's your current marathon. It's, I want to know who you are, because then I'm going to know how to motivate you. I'm going to know what maybe your strengths and weaknesses are. I'm going to know what your outside stressors are, what your challenges are, because we bring all of ourself to a workout. And when you have an athlete that's really struggling through something, a workout that normally they nail, you know it's not because their legs aren't capable or their lungs aren't capable.
Right.
It's because you know all the parts of their life. And
Right.
you can say, how are things going with your boyfriend right now? How's that job? I know you just lost your grandma. Or like,
Yep.
hey, we've struggled with eating in the past. Let's talk about that right now. And that's powerful. When you have a coach behind you that knows you, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, a lot of times I think people say this, and I say it too, that in the sport of running, especially track and field and road racing, where everything is very split-centric and time-centric, we do sometimes say, hey, you are what your times say you are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But you are not who your times say you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you are Sally McRae, Badwater champion. Sally McRae, Moab 250?
240.
240. I added 10 miles. You had another 10 miles in you, didn't you? 240 champion, but you're also Sally McRae wife, Sally McRae mother, Sally McRae friend, Sally McRae, who might have had a stressful week last week for any one of the, innumerable reasons that we can be stressed out. So you're not who your times say you are and who your accomplishments in running say you are. That's a part of who you are for certain, but we can never let it actually define us completely. Not at all.
Absolutely. I love that. And Jeff, you know that we actually have a lot of people training right now. Some are on the bike, some just walked into the gym to throw some weight around.
Right.
We have runners. There's even some runners that are listening to this while they are racing. So we want to acknowledge those athletes right now. We got 2 coaches now. I usually say, hey, Coach Sally's super proud of you for showing up for yourself today. That is by far the hardest part of whatever it is we do in our life, is just showing up to do the thing. And Jeff and I have had some really good conversations lately about the power of the mind and how so much changes for us as athletes, more specifically. We'll just kind of zero in on that when we start forming the right beliefs about ourselves instead of listening to the lies that maybe we tell ourselves, or the lies that other people have told us about what our capabilities are, or what we're supposed to be doing, or how we look and where we should be fitting in that accordance. But you have 2 coaches here that just naturally, we believe in everyone we work with. And when we know that people show up to work, we're fired up.
Absolutely fired up. And if you're running a race right now, run the mile that you're in. Don't worry about the next one. And you're doing absolutely fantastic. The fact that you had the guts to train for a race, the fact that you had the guts to register for the race, the fact that you had the guts to show up for the race, the battle is now won if you're in the race. So left, right, and thank goodness you have Sally's voice, because then you have to deal with like sort of the broken glass, like gravel of my voice. I'm sorry to ruin your race. I'm sorry to ruin your workout. Does Eddie have a chalkboard he can bring over here? Maybe I can scrape my fingernails on it a little bit.
Jeff has some of the best one-liners we know. We if you're not familiar with Jeff Cunningham, he is the BPN head coach. He has coached Nick Bear in most all of his races in the last few years, and
in the last 3, yeah,
in the last 3 years, and has been featured numerous times in those documentaries and in a podcast too. So make sure you check those out. But Jeff, I actually want to rewind a little bit, because I wanted to use this podcast for people to get to know you, because there's a lot of people that are just getting to know you right now, and I know that when you go onto podcasts, it usually is to talk to you about coaching and that relationship there. But if you've ever listened to me interview people on my podcast, I always show little surprises, because I'm a people person, and I have a deep passion for who people are, the uniqueness of their heart, their soul, and what makes them uniquely them. Over dinner a couple nights ago, I was saying the one thing that AI cannot take away from us is your unique story. And no one should be allowed to tell your story for you. So you need to tell your story.
Right.
You need to create your own thing. You need to own who you are and be proud of that and stand in that. And that's something I'm rooting for you as you navigate. I mean, Jeff's a lawyer, guys, but we'll step aside from lawyer and Coach Jeff. And I would love to know if you can just give us a little bit background. Where'd you grow up, and when did you start running?
I grew up in Wynonna, Texas. I tell people Tyler because that's where I went to high school, but I actually grew up in a little town, Wynonna, Texas, 425 people in the middle of the woods in Northeast Texas.
Tyler, Texas. So is that Friday Night Lights, Tyler, Texas? Is that the the show Friday Night Lights?
Well, yeah. If Tyler is mentioned in the show, yes. The funny thing is that was actually obviously the original Friday Night Lights, which is the book
original.
written by H.G. Bissinger, was about Odessa Permian High School out in the Permian Basin, which is middle in Odessa, out in West Texas, which is just the oil field, right?
Okay.
And then Tyler is in Northeast Texas, right?
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, the Friday Night Lights shine brightly everywhere in Texas, from late August until December for sure. So I was a squirrely distance runner, right? I was actually born in Los Angeles, and then we moved to Northeast Texas when I was 2.5 years old, and went to elementary school.
So you're a Californian.
Yeah.
Listen to that accent right now. I would not know that.
I found out a few minutes ago that I was born in Bellflower, California.
Are you serious?
And Eddie taught school in Bellflower. Now, I think that was before the invention of indoor plumbing or the wheel. I don't know. And so, yeah, that's a funny level of connectedness there. And so then we moved to Northeast Texas when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And then ended up going to middle school and high school in Tyler.
And siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister who is 2 years younger, and then a brother 2 years older, right? Mm-hmm. And so I ran well as a youth, and ran actually the first sort of big race I ran that really let me know, wow, I'm really, really passionate about this, actually was here in Los Angeles at Cal Poly Pomona, which is where they held the AAU Junior Olympics in the summer of '86. And that was my eureka moment. My light bulb went on here in Southern California, right? And so then I went to high school in Tyler and was fortunate enough to be able to get a scholarship to run in college. And so I went to Baylor University, and that's where I met my wife, which obviously she might regret being with me, but 24 years later,
I don't think so. 24 years.
Get that woman a padded room and a straitjacket, right? But so yeah, I went to Baylor.
Angelique's a special woman. She's amazing. Yeah,
my best friend.
Yeah,
hands down.
Love that.
So I went to law school and undergrad at Baylor. Went to law school and I realized I wasn't going to run in the Olympic Games, right? And
what were your events that you loved in college?
Cross country in the fall, and then the 5,000 and 10,000 on the track. So I did a lot of turning left during track season, right?
Jeff, did anyone in your family run?
My dad ran a few road races back when he was in the military, just dabbled in it a little bit, but not much. No.
Mm-hmm. Why did you choose running? I think that running's kind of it's a hard sport outside of a ball sport, or what was the pull there as a kid?
I entered my first road race in 1984. I actually posted it on my Instagram. On
was this Global Day
Global Running Day.
I loved all the pictures you posted. I loved all of them.
So that first post, that first picture of little Jeff, that was the first official race I ever ran where you had to pay entry, show up, and all that. It was a 2-mile race, and I realized I was pretty good at it. And then
and that gave you some confidence.
Right.
It felt good to cross the finish line on the podium.
Yes. And I was good at baseball, but not great at baseball. And so I decided to actually choose running at the age of 11,
Really?
which is really unusual.
It is, especially in the 80s.
I never ascribed to the theory that you still see on these silly T-shirts at high school track meets. This is, my sport is your sport's punishment. I never viewed running as punishment ever.
Yeah.
And I was good at it. And that's one of the reasons I chose it. I'm not going to lie. I chose it because I was good at it. And it felt good to be good at something. I was a shrinking violet as a kid. I was really shy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. Are you serious?
Yes. I've never talked about this much.
I would love, I'm going to just go ahead and, why do I even think I need notes with you? I don't need notes with you, Jeff. You're my friend. I'd love to hear this, because this is the most furthest thing in my mind when I think of you.
I was too scared to even go to the counter in a McDonald's and ask for another packet of ketchup.
Wow.
And I would sort of shrink sort of behind my mom's leg or whatever when we were in public. I didn't really like talking to adults when I was a kid. Had a very limited number of friends, but not a vast friend group at all. Middle school and high school, I had self-confidence issues, big time. I had feelings that maybe I wasn't good enough. Now, I was really good in school. That was an expectation. Both of my parents were university educated people, and making good grades was not a request. It was a mandate in my household.
Yeah.
It was not a suggestion. It was an expectation, right? Because keep in mind, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s where the blueprint for success was you must get a university education. I don't want to get too far afield here and get overly political. I'm not sure that everybody necessarily agrees with that to this day, nor do I. But so I was really, really good in school because it was an expectation. I was quite insecure in other areas. And then running, I was good at it. In 1986 in the Junior Olympics here in Los Angeles, I finished 4th at the Junior Olympics.
That's amazing.
Right? Okay. But beyond that, I struggled a bit, right? And so what happened was when I got to college.
Why did you struggle? What was there, like something that made you shy? I mean, I know there's just some kids, they're just shy, a little bit quieter, a little bit more reserved.
Yeah.
Kind of are the watchers. They kind of sit on the outside and kind of watch.
And it wasn't as much that I was a watcher. I was actively engaged when I was at school in class. Being good at school at least made me feel relevant when I was in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And respected when I was in the classroom, right? But when it came to interpersonal interactions and a lot of stuff outside, it was, I had friends in high school, and to this day, I'm still really, I'm fairly close to one of my best friends in high school, but it wasn't like I had this vast friend group. And I remember going to the public high school that I went to. It was 2,600 students in Tyler, even though I grew up 15 miles outside of Tyler in this little town called Wynonna. And I remember showing up, and I felt like a boat adrift at the sea the first day. And this is a story I've never told anybody, but I got home, I want to say maybe the 3rd day of school in the fall of 1989 as a freshman in high school. And I looked at my mom, and I actually started crying. I was 14 years old, and I was lost. It was a massive school. I didn't feel like I knew anybody. And I was actually had a little bit of a running injury at the time. And so I did not run cross country in the fall of my freshman year of high school, right? So I was just sort of adrift. But then I was able to run track in the spring. Things got rolling. All of a sudden I'm like, okay, I found my power here. I'm a really good high school runner, or competitive at least as a freshman in high school. And so then as a sophomore, I ran pretty well. I got I got some athletic accolades. I started feeling confident in my running. I was doing well in school. And then I started feeling better. I did, right? And then things got rolling in high school, but I was still, I wasn't in the in crowd. right? I was from outside of town in Wynonna, Texas, son of 2 state workers, right? And I went into the big public high school, and a lot of these kids had gone to school with each other since they were in elementary school, going up through elementary school, middle school in Tyler, Texas, and a lot of people knew each other, right? And then when I got to college, then it really got rolling. And being part of a team, having a sense of belonging. And then I had to start being interviewed for things now and again. And so I had to articulate my thoughts. But then when it really hit was when I went to law school, you have no choice but to organize your thoughts.
Yes.
May have gotten kicked out of class one time in law school and got the chalk thrown at me.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us that story.
So, Louis Muldrow, who we refer to as the Sultan of the Dark. Sorry about that for all you Baylor folks. He asked me a question. I stood up, and when I stood up, my brain stayed down on my desk, and I stood up, and I'm like, you file that motion when, I don't know. He took that chalk, and he says, "Get out.
No.
I don't want anybody in my class as out of it as you." And he took that chalk and pow, and he pinged me square in the middle of the chest. And he kicked me out.
Way.
Yeah, but the cool thing was Holland was in the semifinals of the World Cup playing against Brazil. So I was at least able to go and watch that.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if they did that today in college? Throwing a chalk at a student?
I don't know. It might still happen, but it was so funny. It was so funny. It was so funny because he was a wonderful teacher, wonderful professor, and it was a lesson in preparedness. And
Wow.
law school was great, but too funny, you know. And I'm no worse for wear because of it. But you had to learn to stand up and talk and express yourself and do, practice court things where you had to literally go in and cross-examine witnesses and direct examination, opening, and closing arguments and blah, 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 blah.
Why did you choose that major? What pulled you into that, knowing that you have to talk and...
Because I didn't gravitate to the hard sciences.
Mm-hmm.
I knew where the on-off switch was on a computer, and that was about all I could do there. I pass out at the sight of blood. Angelique had, I think, 4 or 5 wisdom teeth pulled at one time years ago when needed some orthodonture, and I passed out when they brought her out. So instead of tending to her coming out of surgery out of anesthesia, they had to tend to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I can't handle blood.
Yeah.
And I don't gravitate toward math and the hard sciences. And so I realized that my only transferable skill is my verbosity. So I thought, I'm just going to get a job where it's going to be my job to talk a lot.
Yeah.
So I went to law school. That was the decision.
Yeah.
I can talk.
And so what area of law are you
I represent insurance companies in workers' compensation cases.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so my biggest client writes some of the largest amount of paper in the state of Texas as far as workers' compensation insurance. And so that's what I've done for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
Long time.
So how did you get into coaching? Because those are two very, you get to be on both sides of the way you work with people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's really interesting because I realized when I was in high school and there would be a new kid on the team or a new guy come in or somebody who was looking maybe to try to run better than they did last season, I would always invite them, hey, come on a run with me, or hey, this is what you might want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe get your volume up. Let's maybe try running a couple of tempo runs in the summer. That way we don't just start cold as the start of the fall. And so I always loved the little tiny bits of quasi-mentorship, maybe just some encouraging words, maybe a little bit of advice handed out here, handed out there. And so when I graduated from law school, my mom called me up and she had a colleague whose son was a budding young distance runner at a tiny little high school in Northeast Texas. And my mom says, would you be willing to help this kid out? I said, well, sure. And then he ended up going on and finishing high at the state meet, signed a college scholarship with the University of Houston. And that was the first young man or young woman, the first kid I ever coached. And I was 20, what at the time? I mean,
Is it right out of college?
I was 26, right out of law school. I was
Okay.
26 years
Out of
old
law
at the
school,
time. So it was
26. Wow.
2001, I think. Go looking back, right? And so that was the
26.
first kid I ever coached, and I loved it. And I loved it because I saw the satisfaction. I saw the immense amount of pride that it gave him. I remember standing underneath the stadium after he ran his last race at the state meet his senior year, and I remember tears welling up in his mother's eyes because the ride was over. And even though it was just beginning for him, he was heading off to college to run for the University of Houston, the ride was over for us in sort of what we had been doing for the last couple of years of his high school career, where he went from just a guy who had an idea that he wanted to run to a Division I level athlete. And it's sort of the molding and the development and the relationships that you develop, the emotional connectedness that you have, not just with your athletes, but with their families. Right? In being able to give somebody something, to give something of myself to somebody else that could be life-changing, life-altering for them, or just make their life even just incrementally better, if not for a few days or weeks, whatever it is, that's payment enough.
Mm-hmm. And
Right?
oh yeah. And Jeff, I know that you do that currently for a lot of people. And I think that's really special. I want to ask you about your mom. Your mom identified in you that you would be a good coach. Did she ever coach? I mean, what is this and what's your relationship like with her? And
Yeah.
what made her think that you should go and coach and mentor this other kid when you were 26?
I don't know. It's really interesting. My mom was always my biggest fan, and when Miss Henson came to her, and they remembered that I had, run well in high school,
Yeah.
and a couple of Rudy Poo articles in a local newspaper about me. I don't really know. I think that my mom sensed that I would get a real kick out of helping this young guy, and then she just said, "Hey, do you think that this would be something that you'd be willing to help them out with?" And it was an emphatic yes. And it really inspired me that he did so well. But I
Yeah.
also recognized the mistakes that I made in my first coaching gig ever. I would love to tell you that I had it all figured out from the beginning, but I look back and I think about how much faster the kid should have been had I not made a few critical errors in the way I structured the training and the way I gave him repeat work. The way I still think back on it today.
That's wild.
It was 24 years ago, and I remember specific workouts I gave him back then where I thought, man, I would have done it differently today.
Wow.
And so, even though he was fabulous, right? I look back and I just think, okay, this is what I could have done better. And then even in just my last races that a couple of my athletes have run, I've already gone back during their training cycles leading up to that going, I would have done maybe a little bit more anaerobic work here. Like, I don't know if I would have done that long run workout in retrospect. I'm glad they still ran well, but we're going to run a lot better at the Chicago Marathon if I do bop, bop, bop.
Right.
So I still just go back and I sort of turn the camera and I look at myself. And if you can't be self-reflective, and the learning stops at any point in time, go find something else to do. Because then you're going to be a disservice rather than of service to others.
It sounds like, well, and I know this about you, you really love the details that go into crafting and programming each individual athlete. And I'm always amazed at when we get on the phone, the number, the quantity of stats that you know, not even just currently, it's from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this high school kid, this college kid, this Olympian. I'm like, you are someone that loves the process. You love the sport so much. And I think that to have the ability to look back on something and say like, I could have done that better. Like, that's brilliant and is just a sign of the kind of coach that you are. But what is it that gets you fired up and all that? Why is it that all of those stats and the programming and the creating, like, what is that in there that gets you fired up?
Because all the stats, all the programming, all of the minutia is part of the global process of giving a gift to somebody else, which is them achieving their dreams, them achieving their goals.
Mm.
And it's seeing other people happy. It's seeing other people break down and cry tears of joy. It's seeing other people jump jubilantly into a loved one's arms after a race. Or just a kid sitting quietly under a tree looking up at you and said, I can't believe I just did that. You live for these moments as a coach. And I live for those moments as a mentor, as a dad, as a friend, as a coach, and the ability to do that. And the fact that somebody is willing to entrust something so important, and to the unwashed, they wouldn't understand why a running career is so important to somebody, especially since 99.99999% of those careers net people zero income.
Yeah.
Right? It's the fact that they achieve their goals and their dreams, and you see people crying tears of joy, or you see a high school kid get a massively discounted or free university education because they could go and turn left around a track really fast.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a deal. And so I love all the minutia. I love all the workouts, all the nerdy stats. I can't even remember where I left my car keys. It drives Angelique nuts. She's like, my wallet, my car keys are forever lost. But you could remember what little Blueberry ran at the Blue Bonnet Relays in 1991. It's like,
so true.
You know what? Blueberry had a great day that way, but had it not been for the 11-mile-an-hour wind, might have run faster.
Yeah.
Where my car keys?
Yeah.
God dang it. But yeah, it's just seeing people happy, giving to other people. It's so good, man.
Jeff, you're a part of a lot of people's apex moments, or I like to say core moments, core memories that they have in their life. I think we talk about this sometimes on the podcast when I always like take a minute to encourage the viewers, like how important it is to look at the substance of our life. Like, what is actually the substance of our life? What is it that we can stand on, that if we are gifted with the opportunity to have a deathbed, so to speak, where you're laying in bed and you have the opportunity to gather people around you, or you have that opportunity to kind of reflect on your life, what's the substance that you're hoping for? And I think that you are living that every day. You have been for the last 24 years as a coach, because when people remember you or when they talk about you, you've been a part of some critical moments. It could be overcoming hard moments. It could be achieving great moments, but you have inserted yourself into thousands of people's lives. And I don't think that you could put a price tag on that. I know the society right now is so big on like, what are your followers? What are your subscribers? How many books have you sold? And is this a big, are you building a company that's worth X amount of dollars? And, everything is content and messaging and who has the power, right? But I think where's the substance in that at the end of the day? At the end of the day, who are you when you walk out of the presence of people? And whether that's temporarily because you're just around a group of people or even forever. And I think that the role of a coach is so unique, often uncelebrated in the way that it needs to be. A true coach, which you absolutely are. You are so present. You have physical practices, but I know that you're reaching athletes all over the nation with your virtual coaching as well. You're living a career that has so much substance that you can stand. I can see why you love it so much, but I want to know, what is the hardest part of it? What's the hardest part of being a coach for you?
Trying to be everything to everybody all the time and spending so much time worrying about what other people think of me and recognizing the fact that I am a flawed person. We all are. We're all delusional if we don't realize that we're all flawed, right? And having to try to make sure that I'm as much as I can be for as many people as I can do it for, and not end up divorced and having my kid hate me. Right? I say that and you laugh, but there is, there is a limit to how much any one person can do, right? But I want to
You push that limit.
Oh, I'm pushing it. You have really been lecturing me a lot. I think for the last 2.5
Yeah.
years, Jeff.
Well, often I'm like, when do you sleep?
Well, everybody asks me that.
Yeah.
And the answer is occasionally, and
I'll sleep
not
when I
enough.
die. I
But
know.
I'll tell you what, on this trip, it's been really nice. I've slept until 8 o'clock on 2 occasions. And I can't remember, it's probably been 15, 20 years since I slept till 8 a.m. 2 days in a row.
Wow.
I can't even remember, right? But here's the deal. You were talking about content, right? Listen, and I get it. Content, we're in the social media era. This is what people do. To me, the best content you can crank out is the content of the quality of the relationships that you build with people in your immediate sphere and in that secondary and that tertiary circle around you. The content of those relationships is the content that is the most important content in life. Our happiness is a sum total of the quality of the relationships that we have with people in our sphere. And if you don't believe me, sit and think really, really hard about everybody you know, and even maybe people you don't know, but you know who they are. Celebrities, right? And you look at the walk that everybody walks. You look at the situations that everybody has. Everybody's got situations. Right? But you look at who's happy and who's not, and it typically is people who have really, really good relationships with friends, with mentors, with siblings, with family members, with bosses even, right? Or if you are a boss, with your quote unquote subordinates, right? These are all relationships that we come in and out of during periods of time or even periods during each day. And if you have good relationships, you're going to be happy. If you have disordered relationships and you're in a constant state of flux and there's always just a constant state of mania and madness and mayhem and conflict, then I challenge the fact that you're going to be a super, super happy person. I could be wrong. I majored in psychology because I was a jock and thought it would be easy. That's why I majored in it in undergrad before I found out I wasn't going to set Olympic Games. But the reality is I'm really appreciative that I majored in that because it gives me a little bit of insight as I got into the coaching world, on developing relationships.
That makes sense. I think that's why you are so effective in communicating with your athletes. You know how to motivate. You know how to get to the heart. I want to talk about that a little bit. As I said in the beginning, that is a sign of a phenomenal coach. There's a lot of great coaches out there, but you are in the business of, genuinely in the business of communication. And learning how to communicate with every type of personality is not easy, because I think that as humans, we can say, well, I don't like those kind of people. Those kind of people drive me crazy, or, well, I can't stand that personality, or like, that's not a good path to be on, because at any time in our life, whether it's in business, in relationship, you're going to encounter all different types of personalities. And if you can become a master at being able to communicate with anybody,
yes,
you're great at that.
Well, and here's the deal with running. Running is a sport that is for almost everybody. So you are going to end up running into everybody. You are, if you coach enough, going to coach everybody. When I say everybody, what I mean is personality types.
Yes.
You got your type A personalities, you got your type B personalities, you have your woefully insecure personalities, and then you have your overly self-assured personalities. You have the beat your head against the locker until blood is squirting out the corners of your eyes personalities. Then you have the timid personalities who are scared to go and order that packet of ketchup like I was. And so you run into all personalities because running is a sport that is relatively for everyone. right? And so with it, you just get this incredibly diverse subset of people. And yeah, you have to be able to, and you owe it to yourself and to others to be able to connect, talk to, address people with widely disparate socioeconomic statuses, personal health, marital statuses, professional statuses. It's everything. It's running. Running literally brings us all together because everybody runs.
Mm-hmm. And you don't coach just elites. I know I had talked about that in the earlier. It was, which I think a lot of times when we come across great coaches, we immediately think, oh, this person is only coaching the top level elite professional athletes. Just on a very personal level, I'm going to bring up my Mackenzie. You and I share your daughter's name is Mackenzie. My daughter's name is Mackenzie. And I think they're all of maybe a year apart, which I think is so precious.
That's right.
But in the past 2 years, you have played a monumental role in my Mackenzie's life. And this is one of the reasons one of the many reasons I'm very grateful for your friendship.
Yeah.
My Mackenzie adores you, absolutely adores you. And you came to, you kind of were like, we had all made this connection at a point in her career. She was still in high school. When she was going through some hard times, and a lot of it was just the mental game. Mackenzie is, as you know, it's not, oh, we need to motivate her to run, or we need to tighten up her work ethic. It was never that. I think it's, as you know, in high school is hard. And sometimes we get caught listening to messages that aren't true about ourselves. Sometimes we become victims of people that have no business telling us how to coach or what to do. And I think that the thing that always gave me peace when I knew that she would just get on the phone with you was, one, you have this ability to make people smile. And second, you have this ability to bring peace and assurance. And I remember her senior year, she had such a hard time her last semester. I mean, her whole senior year was really heartbreaking. It was injury after injury, it was setback. And then I noticed, I was like, there's some stuff mentally going on. And my conversation to you always was like, I'm her mom. That's all I ever want to be. I don't want to be her coach. And people always ask me about that. I'm like, Mackenzie will have tons of coaches, because she's a phenomenal athlete. I know that. I know that's what her dream is, to do this for the rest of her life. But she will always only have one mama. And that's all that I ever want to be to her.
Yeah.
And so you were such like a rescuer with her. And I know that it was one of her last track meets in college. In high school, she was trying to make it to the state meet. And I could see, I know her well enough, this breakdown, great first lap, great second lap. And then I can always see it in her eyes. It's a switch. Something happened. And then the race started to fall away. And it, as a mom, it's heartbreaking. It's so hard. And I remember thinking before the race was even over, oh my gosh, I hope that Jeff is available to talk to her, because I don't know what I'm going to say. I think you're in this position a lot.
Yeah, I am. And my high school career ended with one of the most devastatingly awful races I ran in high school. It was at the state championships, May 1993, and I got sick literally the day before. And I went out and ran absolutely gosh awful. It was really bad, guys. I ran 45 seconds slower in the 2 mile in the state championship than I did at the regional championship 2 weeks prior. That's a lot of time, guys. And I remember getting in the car in Austin and leaving Memorial Stadium, because back then the track at the University of Texas was in Memorial Stadium, their football stadium. We got onto I-35 and we turned north. And I remember the minute we got on I-35, I just put my head up against the window in the back seat of the car, and I just started crying because I could not believe this is the way it ended, you know? And so I always think when a kid is going through a really, really tough time or has an awful race or an awful experience, I remember how I felt. And so I want to make sure that if anybody ever reaches out to me, or if I'm coaching a young person, or if I have any role of any mentorship at all in their life, be a soft place for them to fall. Offer words of reassurance because I ran my first college cross-country meet in late August 1993 as a freshman at Baylor at the University of Oklahoma, literally, 15 weeks later, and finished third.
Wow.
So my point is, in 15 weeks, life looked a whole lot different. And so what I kept telling Mackenzie when she was going through a tough time there at the end of her senior year is, you're going to Northern Arizona University. You are one of the top runners in the state of California. Frankly, one of the top runners in the nation. When you look back at what she did as a junior, life's going to be okay. Right now, you're so close to it. This is really, really awful. But you're Mackenzie darn McKay. You have more talent in your pinky than most people have in their entire body. This one race is not a reflection of who you are and what you are as an athlete or as a human. And the sun's going to rise tomorrow. And the one thing that every teenager needs to know when they're in the throes of depression or despair and they're distraught after a race, which is, this may be small solace to you, but you're going to recognize years from now the wisdom in this. When you wake up tomorrow, your mom and your dad are going to still believe that you hung the moon. And at the end of the day, we're going to be okay. And that's what I tell these kids. And I went through it this spring. I mean, I had illness. I had injury with a couple of the young people who I coach in high school. And I got those phone calls, right, where there's tears shed on the other end of the line. And you could choose to be a positive in their life. You could choose to be additive. You can choose a position of mentorship and positivism and be scaffolding around these young souls. Because everybody knows teenagers, they ain't going to listen to mom and dad. That's the way it goes. 18-year-olds, you don't get smart until they need centerpieces for the wedding reception, right? But mom and dad don't know diddly about nothing, right? I was about to say Jack, but then I realized this is a family program. It's a family program. G-rated for good. But the reality of it is, always, when you have a chance to be scaffolding, be scaffolding. Don't start pulling scaffolding apart and tell somebody who's swaying, hey, good luck, hope you don't fall over. No, man, be scaffolding. They reached out to you for a reason. They're talking to you for a reason. You can believe that it's divine intervention or fate or whatever, but you were put in this spot to be an assist, even if for just a few moments. Offer a kind word, and for the love of gosh, people, smile at every person behind a cash register and ask them how their day is. I mean, think about it, man. They're serving you. Just smile.
Yeah, I love
right?
that,
Be kind.
Jeff.
Being kind is not hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you've just shared is something that, especially to those that are running right now, we have a lot of parents who listen to this, and we get questions all the time about, hey, I want my kid to start running, or I want to help encourage them in sports. It isn't all just runners that listen to our podcast, but this navigating youth sports, it's different than when we were growing up in it. There's so much pressure. I mean, kids are getting paid in college now. It's not what it used to be, but I think what is the same is kids need to know they're going to be okay. They need to know that this isn't the end of their life, the end of their career. It's not a scarlet letter upon their cheek that you're going to be a loser for the rest of your life and all is lost. And they want to know that the best is yet to come. Kids want to know that their life matters and there is value in them outside of their sport. But that is, it seems so simple saying that, Jeff, right? It seems so simple for us to say, guess what? You are not your sport. It's something you do, but it is not who you are. You entered this world naked with nothing except that beautiful soul, that sweet little face, and that cry. And you were loved from day one. And you will always be loved. And there's a reason for you to be here, far outside of when baseball ends and soccer ends and there's no more dance recital and gymnastics. And even if you choose to run outside of college, whether you choose to compete or not, there is so much in store. We are made up of so many incredible talent. There's so much inside of us that we can do. I mean, you and Angelique were talking about your daughter, Mackenzie, the other night. She's insanely talented behind the camera. The artistry that goes on in that girl's head is incredible. But I think sometimes we hit these points, we start to get jaded. And it starts when we're kids. It starts middle school. You become more and more aware. High school, as you explain, you came home 3 days into high school and just started crying. You're just feeling lost. That is so common, Jeff. I'm so glad you brought that up. There are more kids that feel that way today that say, Mom, Dad, I'm depressed. And I don't even know why. I don't even know how to pinpoint this. I have my reasoning is one of the things that are going on. We just need to get everyone off the screens and live a life that's real and experience it for ourselves. Stop scrolling. But at the same time, we need people who are going to stand for us. I love that scaffolding that you had said, that are going to stand for us and say, you're okay. This is actually part of it. All those failures and like you screwing up or having a bad race, that's actually the only way you're going to get better.
Yeah. Listen, I think success is a great teacher, but failure also is a teacher. It raises an interesting point that sports doesn't define you. Sports isn't who you are. Sports is what you do. What I find with a lot of the runners who I coach post-collegiately, who may have been super competitive in high school and super competitive collegiately, is that it was such a overly large part of who they were that it became a detriment. I was on a podcast a couple of years ago, and I made the point that there's a difference between being all in and all consumed. All consumed means that you pursue something to the detriment of possibly your physical and your mental health. And that's the reason why we have such a high incidence of disordered eating and ED, especially with our young women who are taught, socialized in Western culture, that you just got to be perfect in so many different ways. And then the running starts consuming them. And so they become all consumed rather than merely being all in. And the difference is when you're all in, it means that you are focused, you're razor sharp with your attention to detail when you are doing running and then running related things, such as maybe rehab or recovery. But you're not consumed by it to the degree that you can't pivot and then go to the movies with your girlfriends and eat a tub of butter popcorn and not feel guilty about it and not feel watched or judged. And you're a normal social person and you have very interest. You like to read and you like to travel and you like to volunteer down at the homeless shelter, maybe a couple of times a month. Don't be so all consumed by your running that it becomes such a hyper focus in your life that you end up doing what we, I guess, proverbial call gripping. Just gripping. You're just gripping all the time. Hey, loosen the grip on the golf club. You might actually start hitting it straight down the middle. Right?
Yeah.
And so what I find is I get some post-collegiate runners who are like, oh my God, we're only running X number of hard workouts a week. Yeah. Wait, we're not gray zone training anymore. It's okay to actually laugh and chat and not be out of breath on a run that we're lying to ourselves and calling easy, but it's not. It's just a slow tempo run, right? Yeah. Oh, you mean that you're not going to lord over me? You're not going to talk about the way I look? And I'm not going to get into that, but the answer is no. No, we're not weighing people. We're not judging you for eating a hamburger with grease running down your hand. We're not judging you because you skipped a day of running to go to a bar mitzvah or to go to a Coldplay concert like somebody did last night. Eddie and Mackenzie McCrae. Right? Holy mackerel! No, I know. I guess that was 2 nights ago now.
Yeah.
But yeah, live a varied life. Have have varied interests. Don't be all consumed. Just be all in when you're doing it. You're actually gonna perform better. You're gonna run better.
Spring is here, and if you're like me, you're ready for a total refresh, starting with your skin. And that's exactly why I'm loving iRestore's latest skincare products. Their Renew Calming Facial Spray is amazing, especially for dry skin. It gives instant hydration, calms irritation, and helps firm your skin. And when used before the Illumina Red Light Face Mask, it enhances the benefits of the therapy. I also suggest pairing the Renew Calming Facial Spray and Anti-Aging Eye Cream with your Illumina Face Mask so you can see even better results. Give your skincare the love it deserves. For a limited time, subscribe and save 25% off or more, plus free shipping on iRestore Skincare, and our listeners are getting a huge discount on the iRestore Illumina face mask when you use code SALLY at iRestore.com. So head over to iRestore.com and use code SALLY for our show's exclusive discounts. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Unlock your best skin with iRestore. Jeff, how do you manage being a lawyer? I know you and I have lots of conversations about this, but this is for our listeners. Some of these questions I already know answers to, obviously. But how do you manage being, because we're talking about being all in, all consumed, but your life as a lawyer, you're very busy. You're on the road a lot. I mean, that's a lot of paperwork, a lot of conversations. It's a lot of mental and emotional draining. And then to be completely on, you are a person who brings the energy, you bring the passion. I told somebody this a couple months ago when I was talking about you in a very loving way. I said, Jeff is the kind of person where if you get on the phone and you tell him you're doubting something, he will make you believe that, like, those doubts will go away. He will make you believe that you are capable of reining in the moon, of running, doing your first Ironman or swimming a mile. He will somehow get you to believe that that's possible. We all want somebody in our circle like that. I think from my perspective that being a lawyer and being all in as coaching, that's a lot. How are you managing that right now?
So do you want me to
You can tell
have
the
discussion
unhealthy
with
part.
you, or do we need Anjali Cunningham to
Right.
weigh in on the way she feels about
Well,
this?
we have CoachCunningham.com or Jeff Cunningham. What do you have? What is your
CunninghamRunning.com.
CunninghamRunning.com, which I know you have coaches under
Right,
you
yes.
that help you, which is
Some amazing coaches. Yeah.
amazing coaches, which is necessary. I mean, that is a big way that you are able to manage so many athletes. But I know multiple athletes that are deeply and personally impacted by you, face-to-face workouts on the track, the weekend long run. You seem to be at every other race, every other weekend at these big, huge races, and you are sprinting all over the courses, screaming out their splits, and it's multiple athletes. And then suddenly you're at the finish line. So you're either an angel with skin, or you don't sleep, or it's just like this amazing energetic gift that you have been given to handle all this. Let's dig a little deeper here.
Yeah. I am really, really big on do as I say, not as I do.
Okay. I feel like a lot of successful people say that. I'm just going to put that out there.
No, listen.
It's the part where you're like, I just don't want people to know how many Red Bulls I drink and that I actually still sleep 2 hours a night.
I went to the doctor the other day and I says, Doctor, I don't actually know what my blood type is. And that's really weird. Everybody should know what their blood type is. And so they did a blood draw and it came back coffee. So my blood type is coffee. And
I should have known you were going to turn this into a joke.
Yeah. Can't be serious for long, Jeff. Listen, my sleep deprivation is not a badge of honor, and it's something that I'm working on. It's not anything to be bragged about. And I think that is one of the biggest problems that we have right now in corporate America. That's getting better in some cultures, in some companies, and then other companies simply don't value it. They actually don't value their own employees' mental health and physical health. They actually give bonuses. And on Zoom calls, one of my athletes who's chronically sleep deprived, who's also one of the great talents who I coach right now, she was telling me about how kudos were given to somebody because they worked on their off days and vacation days a couple of weeks ago. And that was thrown out as the example of what to be. Now, I am not wearing my sleep deprivation as a badge of honor. I do not tout my literally tissue paper thick bandwidth that I've got left as something to be bragged about. But the reality is I do stretch myself thin, and I'm not perfect. I miss text messages. I get mortified sometimes if somebody did reach out to me and I just missed it in the fray, because I get sometimes I have gotten up to like 100 plus DMs a day in Instagram from all over the world, right? And text messages. And so
everyone listening, go ahead and message.
I get myself spread too thin. But what I try to do is I try to be there as best as I can for everybody, because when somebody reaches out, this is their angst. This is their situation. And when they reach out to you, you can either be obtuse and unfeeling and stiff arm them, or you could choose to listen. And so the good thing is I do drive a ton. I was telling Eddie a little while ago that I drive sometimes up to 75,000 miles a year for my law job. I'm not kidding.
Just driving different courts all around Texas.
Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, down to the Rio Grande Valley, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of time to talk on the phone.
That's
and
nice.
So the cool thing is because I only sleep 3 hours a night, I need something to do to keep me awake. So what better to do than talk to somebody, in Fort Lauderdale who has the A1A marathon coming up, right? Or somebody.
We've been on the phone and you're like, hold on, I need to order my coffee right now. And I'm like...
Yeah.
All in.
So I'm thinking about getting a hook in the roof of my pickup truck where I could get like a coffee IV, and I could start an IV on my right arm and just sit there and just drip it, man.
Jeff.
Probably I end up having my eyeballs roll out of my face. But the reality of it is I have to try to get a handle on this. But the problem is I just don't like to say no. Right? I want to say yes. When somebody asks me to help them, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to help you. And then it's just like, Angelique will ask me, it's like, you are aware of the 24-hour day. There's no 25, It's kind of like you go to a golf course, they have the 19th hole, right? No, there is no 25th hour day. There is no 25th hour day, there's not some bar that you can saddle up to after your 24th hour and like order an extra hour from the bartender. It's not the way it works, Sure wish.
What's the dream for you? Because you're, whether you like it or not, your coaching program is growing.
Yeah.
You're getting more requests from pro and elite athletes that they're seeing the value in your training group. People want to be on the track with you. People want to have you cheering for them at their races. I know there's talks of you even starting your own podcast, among other projects. What is it that you're dreaming about? What are you hoping to do? What's your, don't tell me your 5-year plan, but how do you motivate yourself in your own goals as you motivate everyone else around you?
My goal is to be able to continue down the path of mentorship and coaching and be able to do it in a way that is sustainable, not just for me, but for me to be emotionally and physically available for my family, right? Now, my overarching dream is for it to be said that I lived a life of relevance. The worst epitaph is for it to be said when you have breathed your last breath that you lived a life of irrelevance. Be relevant in your knitting club. Be relevant in your, weekend card club with the girls down at the the social club. Be relevant in your church choir. Be relevant. Be additive to other people's lives. Let it be known that you did something of substance that added to your corner of the world. And that's my dream, is for that to be the narrative when I'm gone.
I love that. I think that's already happening. And I think that your athletes who are, that's the cool thing about running, what they learn in running, they can apply it to their life.
And I'm a super, super competitive person. And that's one of the things that's really, really difficult to balance too, is I have incredible competitive goals for the people who I coach. Do I want somebody to qualify for the Olympic Games in 2028 and help them realize that dream? Yes. Do I have some people who I believe have enough ability to get that done or are on that road? I believe so. So, these are the things. Do not ever confuse a coach for somebody who shouldn't be as competitive as you. And what I told a bunch of coaches at a coaching convention back in 2010 was this: your runners, this is high school coaches, they must see you being competitive. They must see you trying to charge up to the mountain top. If they don't see you trying to charge the mountain, if they don't see you being competitive, how could you possibly expect them to charge the mountain and be competitive? You got to lead by example. So I'm incredibly competitive. So I'm a soft place for people to fall. And when Mackenzie McRae's of this world are unhappy or they're sad or they're mad about a race, call me up, right? Any of my athletes who I've ever coached, call me up. Let's talk about it. It's going to be okay. But we are going to fix this. And we're going to fix this bigly, hugely, huge. We're going to fix this. Or we're going to go and crush. We're going to stomp some necks. Because at the end of the day, there are clocks at finish lines.
Yeah.
And they award medals, right? And they also have Coach of the Year awards. Now, this is what I've never understood. When you see these folksy interviews after a high school football game, maybe a college, I don't know. Oh, this ain't about me. This is just about them kids over there in that locker room.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, it is a little bit about you, right?
Yeah.
Because if they didn't, why would they have League Coach of the Year award? Why would they have Conference National Coach of the Year award? Because coaches compete. Yeah. So let your athletes see you being competitive, but not needlessly obtuse, not dismissive of their concerns, and not abusive. And it's a fine line between telling somebody, hey, it's going to be okay, you don't have to do that, and then looking at another athlete going, hey, suck it up, Buttercup. Sorry, if you don't want it to hurt, go bowling, go play darts. I've never seen anybody go into oxygen debt doing either of those, right?
Yeah.
We do hard things, but let's do it in a way that's motivating and that is bolstering people. Listen, a rising tide raises all boats. Be part of the tide. Be part of the tide that's raising, and you're going to look around you. That boat's going up. That boat's going up. That boat's going up. That feels good, right? That's why I live this bizarre life. It's like a bag of Doritos and a Diet Coke at lunch, okay? My buddies call my truck the LWE, okay? That's the Life Wreck Express. That's what my college teammates call me when I'm going, because they're convinced that's all I do as a lawyer is just wreck lives. And so coaching is the salve for the wounds of the world that I'm inflicting, right? I get to go coach and just, help people and make life better, because over here I'm driving the LWE to go and just wreck some lives.
That is a very diverse life. But I would like to say that you have this wonderful gift, this ability to inject so much hope and passion into people. I've had this discussion many times where athletes will come to me, or they'll write in, or maybe at an event they'll come and chat with me, and it's always, do you think I could do A, B, and C?
Oh, yep.
And I wanted to kind of chat with you about that because I know you get that probably from all your athletes. Coach, do you think that I could run this? Or it might not even be the PBPR Olympic trials. It's just someone that's kind of comes up to you and is like, hey, I'm not much of a runner, but I would love to do a half marathon. Or I've always thought this in my head that maybe I could do this. You have this amazing ability to help people believe in themselves. And I know you and I have talked about mindset many times, but I kind of want to just chat a little bit about that, the power of the mind and how you've been given a position where you are able to help people believe in themselves in things that seem impossible. Yeah.
First of all, I don't love it when people come to me and say, I know I would be one of your slowest runners, but I'm not very good, but I'm not much of a runner, but, and I say, hey, I need you to stop there.
Stop talking.
I need you to stop talking. You are coming to me from a position of self-denigration.
Yes.
Needless self-criticism where you are flogging yourself in order to knock yourself down and you're trying to insinuate you are less important to me or you are less worthy. Don't do that to yourself. Like I was telling you a little while ago, nobody should love you some you as much as you. Now listen, our mamas love us, right? Our wives, our spouses, our dogs love us. But listen, I will stand by this. You got to love you some you more than anybody in the world, or you cannot be then the best friend or daughter or parent or whatever, because you have to take care of you first. When you're on an airplane, who do they tell you to put the oxygen mask on first?
Yourself.
People, please listen to me. Put the oxygen mask on yourselves first. It's not selfish. It's actually a selfless act, because if you pass out in your everyday life, proverbially, then you cannot be there to consciously make other people's lives better. That's the point. So how am I so positive? Because I tell people when they say, can I? Well, yeah, because we live in a world that is couched, unfortunately, in a lot of negativism right now. And I don't need to bother to go into it because we all are aware of the national narrative. Okay? And the reality of it is let's be positive. Okay? Not delusional, but we have gotten to the point where we confuse realism and negativism. We go to the negative. You probably can't do that. You aren't going to be able to do that. We are the first generation of parents, and Angelique was having this conversation with one of her best friends, Stephanie, just the other day about how we're saying things to our kids like, oh, these interest rates, people are never going to be able to buy their own house. Well, think about what we're telling our kids, which is you're never going to be able to live the life that your mom and dad have. You're never going to be able to have as good of a life as we have. I mean, these are the things that we're saying, right? Well, we do it. We confuse pessimism and realism a lot. So what I tell everybody is your talent is a ranch, not a ranchette. A ranchette might be 30 acres, 25 acres. No, we all live on 10, 20,000 acre talent ranches. So what we need to do is push those fences out to the very edge of the ranch. And those are the parameters within which we operate in deciding what you're capable of. It's the glass ceiling, right? And so what I try to do in my coaching is get everybody to get all the way to the edge of their talent ranch, or all the way to the highest glass ceiling that we can raise. We're all capable of so much more. Am I ever going to dunk a basketball? No, I'm not. Okay. So we don't need to be delusional about stuff, right? Hey, am I going to be better than Eliud Kipchoge? Well, I mean, there's a lot of marathoning to be done out there without running 2:01, right? Right. But when I have a woman come to me who has run 2 43. And she says, the Olympic trial standard is 2:37. In 3 years, can I get 16 minutes? I said, well, how much do you run? And what is your running history? And how passionate are you about this? Just quick, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, absolutely, you can do that. Really? Yeah, you can do that. My answer is almost always yes. When people ask me, can I do this? The answer is almost always, well, yeah, of course you can. Now, I'm not some sleazy home builder that has bad blueprints. I've got pretty good blueprints, right? So then I'll give people the blueprint, like we want to build this beautiful house. Let's start with the foundation and let's work through this. Here's the blueprint. Let's go. Let's freaking go. Dream big, you might achieve big. You might achieve big. If you don't dream big, which we've criminalized, which is really weird. We've criminalized dreamers. We look at kids who stare out the window in elementary school, and we browbeat them about arithmetic and all this, and it's really important. But we need to let kids dream. We need to let people chase their dreams. I mean, what crime's being committed? You know, I always tell these kids, hey, do you have a lot of student loan debt? No. Do you have any dependents? Sometimes I say, not that I know of. I'm like, well, you know, like, do you have any dependents? You know, no. Are you married? No. What's your car payment? $185. Okay. I'm like, well, why not chase your dream?
Yeah.
What crime are you committing?
I love that.
You're not. You're not committing a crime. But you want to know what? Like Angelique says, the worst thing in life is regrets.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we can come up with some things that are bad. I mean, like being stuck in quicksand, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's some bad stuff. Getting bit in the face by 1,000 pit vipers. I mean, there's stuff that's bad. Okay, but in the grand scheme of things, regrets really, really gnaw at our souls. You don't want to look back when you had all the chances in the world when you're in your mid-40s. And start a sentence with what if and stare listlessly sort of off into the Netherland with sort of an ellipses after it. I wonder what would have happened if, when I'm presented with the opportunity to run the Boston Marathon, had I done it, to go out and run, the Firecracker 5K with my family, and I didn't do it. I wonder what would have happened had I just gone and done that. Don't spend too much time asking what if. If it's within the realm of reason, if it's within the realm of responsible meaning, are you taking care of the basics of life, taking care of your friends, your family, your emotional, your physical health, paying your bill? I mean, just the basics. Beyond that, if it's within the realm of responsible, go do it. What's the crime, guys? And forget about the template. Don't let other people tell you, well, this is what you do. And everybody's got these boxes that they check. Life is not a checklist, people. It's not a checklist. Life is a bucket list. Life's not a checklist. Life's a bucket list.
I love that.
Get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And our bucket lists are so unique to us.
I know,
I think it's
right?
the best part about a bucket list as opposed to a checklist. I think a lot of people have our checklists made out for us.
Speaking of which,
you need to do this.
Do you know anybody that can get me Packers Bears tickets at Lambeau Field?
Listeners.
I love that.
Yeah. Listeners, we know what's on the bucket list over here. Let us know.
Oh, I've got about 47 other things too.
Our good buddy Jason, he works up the Jumbotron at Staples Center, which is now the Crypto Center. But
yeah.
So anytime Eddie and Isaiah will go watch a game, I mean, I don't know anyone that's been more put on the big screen than Eddie and Isaiah, because our buddy is up in the booth and he's like, "Tell me what seats you're in." So he's putting them up on the Jumbotron every time they go to a game.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
We'll need to see if there's anyone else that listens that to the podcast and get you some tickets. That would be fantastic. Jeff, every time I have someone on my podcast, I always ask them if they know what their name means.
My name is Jeff. Actually, I don't really know.
Jeffrey, do you know what your name means? And this is so beautiful. I always feel like every time I have it.
I've never pondered it.
Okay, well, I'm going to ponder it here for you because it's actually really beautiful. It really touched my heart because one of the things that I started bringing up earlier was the very personal gratitude connection that I have with you. We're both parents. Our kids are our most prized possession. They are our greatest gifts, greatest adventure of our life. It's our legacy. It's everything. We've loved them since before they entered the world. We could feel them kick in the womb, and all the things that I think of Mackenzie and Isaiah. And there's so much about our children that the rest of the world will never see. All those little moments that we cherish in our heart. And I think that when Mackenzie was having her tough season in high school, one of the things that I had said to you, because at one point you're like, I hope I'm not overstepping. I was like, it takes a village to raise children. It really does. And here in America, we don't really get that right so well. We're so isolated a lot. But I'm always so grateful for the people that are in her life that impact her in ways that I know I can't, or just aren't really for me. And as I knew you were going to be on the podcast, I was like, oh, I'm going to look up his name. I do this for everyone. And one of the things that I always loved when you would tell me, hey, I'm going to give Mackenzie a call, and it would bring so much peace to my heart, because I would go out on these runs and sometimes I would cry. It's just like the burden of a parent when you know that your kid is hurting and you can't change it. When you know that your kid is walking through a storm and you can't do anything about it, and you would do anything. You would, let me go through all this. Let me feel all this. Like, I can handle it. I'm old enough. I've lived my days. Like, I just can we change this? And I know this hits hard for people who are listening who have experienced significant loss and are going through challenges right now. That is something that we hear often in our community. We have people that share incredible stories with us, and also very heavy, hard stories. This is, and so one of the reasons why I love bringing up the power of the name is because I always say on the show to remember who you are and to not lose who you are, no matter what it is. Yeah. And you and I had that conversation the other night as we went to dinner with Isaiah and Angelique, and I kept saying that to you. It's something that I mentor people in. I always say, remember who you are and don't ever lose yourself. It's so easy to. And your name, Jeffrey, means peace. And you can dig a little bit more into it. There's pledge of peace and God's peace. And I feel like when athletes go to you, that's what they're looking for. They want to know before they get to the start line that there's going to be someone there to help calm their jitters and bring peace to their heart, and that confidence that they're going to be able to execute that goal that they had been training for, that they're going to get to that finish line of that dream race that they at first did not believe they could do, but you gave them that peace and confidence that they could do it. And I know that every single time Mackenzie has talked to you, you have brought so much peace to her heart. And I just want to say thank you. And I want to encourage you that in whatever you do, as you grow your coaching, as you work with people face to face, whether you write a book, you start your own podcast, remember that about yourself. You have this wonderful ability to communicate. And any time that you get to stand in front of a crowd or in front of a person, you actually have this great gift of bringing peace into their heart and into their life and into their own journey. And I believe that's how you're going to be remembered. And that is something that can't be replicated. That's something that's unique to you. And that's something that you can pass on until your very last day. And so I just want to say thank you, Jeff.
Well, that might be the kindest thing that anybody's ever said to me. That's the greatest compliment that anybody has ever paid me. Be genuine. Be yourself. This is my recommendation for everybody. And we're not perfect, but I always do the best I can. And every time I ever spoke to and speak to Kenzie, if she's having a hard moment, is I do the best I can to provide peace to somebody who's calling me who has a genuine problem. And, it's one of these things where I view it as an obligation, not in a negative way, but like you're obligated to do that if you're put in that position. And it really, really means a lot to me to hear that is the result of my interactions with your daughter, when that was the goal of those interactions. And sometimes those things don't align, right? We go into it with a goal and it doesn't hit home, right? And so it makes me feel good that even if for just a brief second, I might be able to bolster somebody's spirits. I might be able to be part of that rising tide so that boat can go up. And, living a life where you are of service to others and you can create your relevance in that way is so powerful and it's so meaningful. But frankly, at the end of the day, it's just sort of instinctive. I mean, like I always tell people, I'm just a guy with a bad accent and drives a pickup truck, man. And listen, man, I'm not some PhD. I'm not an exercise physiologist. I'm a JD, a doctor of jurisprudence. I'm just a dirtbag lawyer, okay? But I know enough about running to be dangerous, but the other part of it is I try to be inspiring and motivating and try to put a little bit of rah-rah into this, because you want to know, a little bit of rah-rah goes a long way in life. Don't we all need cheerleaders?
Yeah.
We all need cheerleaders, right? And at the end of the day, I don't claim to be the grand poobah of all things running. I mean, listen, man, you got your max VO2 and you got your lactate threshold and you got all this stuff that I can go and memorize. I'm probably not as good at it as a lot of coaches, right? I'm solid on the X's and O's. I mean, I'm not a formally trained coach. I stood out next to a lot of tracks, next to a lot of rows with a stopwatch in a bad cup of coffee. Okay. And some of this stuff I had to figure out. But the constant I can always bring is enthusiasm, empathy, and the ability to not be flippantly dismissive of somebody when they're going through something that's very, very real to them. You have an opportunity to either be a plus or a negative, and it's binary.
Absolutely.
It's binary. Are you a plus or a negative?
I love that.
If you can be a plus, you're probably doing something good.
Absolutely. Well, you've been doing it for 25 years, and I really believe that real life, upfront, face-to-face experience will always trump a book. And we live in a digital world where we can look up anything. We can all pretend to be experts, and we get so enthralled with titles. But at the end of the day, we don't need another chapter in a book about anaerobic and max workouts. But we do need to know, especially in our hard times, that we are going to be okay, that someone believes in us, and that we're going to have that support to get to the finish line. And that is exactly who you are, Jeff. So thank you so much.
Remember, folks, the key part of artificial intelligence is the artificial part.
Absolutely.
Don't you all forget it. Got to be real. We got to be real.
Jeff, where can we follow you? What is the best way to follow your journey and reach out? And
my Instagram is at JD Cunningham 97.
We'll put that in the show notes.
And
put all these links in the show notes.
My coaching site is cunninghamrunning.com. And you could fill out a coaching request there, and we're going to get to you as soon as we can. Some days it's like drinking out of a fire hose, man, but we're doing the best we can, right? And then my elite team in Austin, who I coach, we're getting into the bandwidth thing here, right? Yeah. That's at badcitytc.com. A fabulous team of people who are chasing big dreams. But I coach everybody. I love everybody. Yeah. I love your dreams. Your dreams are your dreams, and they have to matter to me too. So let's all go and chase them. Let's go and chase them. It ain't a crime, people. Let's go.
Amazing. Listeners, viewers, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. I know some of you that are still running probably feel like you can now run through a brick wall because of the energy that Jeff always brings. We want to encourage you that whatever you listen to today, don't only apply it to your running, apply it to every area of your life, and know that we are always cheering for you. We believe in you, and we want to encourage you to keep choosing strong in all you do.